Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for participating. I'm going to discuss Arviz in the Python library, and we are refactoring. Um, what is Arviz? It's the base player of Bayesian modeling, at least in Python. And the reason is that this player is because it plays a key supporting role in many tasks that are related to Bayesian statistics, like model evaluation, model comparison, diagnostic of inferential methods like Markov in Monte Carlo, presentation of results, and other tasks that are essential for a good Bayesian analysis. Um, Arviz started as a PyMC. Inside PyMC, we have functionality for plotting for diagnostic. On approximately few years ago. Actually, I was checking the commits and I found that in 2015 was the first commit, but something happened in 3 years and I don't know. So at some point we decided to move out code from PyMC into a independent library so we can have better development of each functionality. And after some time, we decided to refactor, to completely rewrite the library. So why to do that if it's kind of working? Because we were never really happy with the design that we have for Arviz. The focus was always to providing the tools needed for people doing statistics. And we have like this kind of technical debt. We knew that some things we could do better, but we keep working on adding new functionality, things that were needed, requested by users. So we kind of delay these things. So some issues were dependencies. Sometimes people use Arviz just to compute one or two numbers. And we were asking these people to install matplotlib, for instance, even if they just want to compute the number. So that was problematic for many people working on clusters or people just wanting to use Arviz inside their own library. Especially for plotting functions, arguments were super messy. Every time we want to provide a new functionality, essentially, that means that we want to add a new argument to the function in order to provide that, and it was always limited, so it was not very good design. We want to reuse some code internally, but also to allow people to reuse some of our code to allow them to create their own plots. That was not easy at all to do. So essentially the solution was we provide the axis or the figure for matplotlib and then tell users, okay, just do something with this. So not very nice. So we decide to first thing, divide the functionality into three separate libraries, arviz-base, for interacting with other PPLs like PyMC, Stan, and Pyro, so to input data from these PPLs into Arviz, essentially as some data manipulation. Then arviz-stats for all the statistical things that we want to compute, essentially things that things that are returned as numbers or tables, and arviz-plot for visual checking. Even if we split this into three libraries, we expect most of the users to install the whole package together. So for most users, probably they are going to still see this as a unified thing, but we provide the flexibility to install them separately. And also each one of these libraries has some optional dependencies to make it more flexible. So for instance, in arviz-base, we have functions to upload some data that makes a lot of sense if you are used to Bayesian statistic. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense at all. But we have this X-array. I don't know how many of you are familiar with X-array, but this is okay. It's very nice library. Essentially, you can have n-dimensional arrays with labels. We used to have in the old Arviz, we used to have an object that we call inference data object that was based on X-array, but we add functionality. And one of the functionality we add is that we want to support groups. Hopefully, the people from X-array listen to us and other people say, okay, it's a good idea to have groups. So now they provide this data structure, data tree, that natively has this group. So why we use this group? Because when doing Bayesian statistics, we generate a lot of data, and we want to store that data in different places. In arviz-stat, usually the only argument you need to pass is the data tree, okay? And usually that's going to generate some result that is kind of sensible. And the reason that we provide that is because internally this data tree has a lot of information and the functions knows where to look the information and try to guess what are you expecting. But of course you can change it. But the new thing is that we now also provide this array interface. What this allows is minimal dependency, so you can start install only arviz-stats without installing all the arviz packages. And this only depends on NumPy and SciPy. So it's very good for people, for instance, to use arviz inside their own PPLs. The downside is that we are not doing this. We have no way to know what the user is passing. So the user has to provide information like what are the chains, what are the draws, what the access me essentially. Okay. Arviz-plot also provides a lot of batteries include plots, like this plus this, plot this. Uh, Essentially, this is the same syntax in all new and in the old arviz and the new arviz. We are again passing a data tree and telling I want to plot these variables, all variables except the p variables. So for the user, this is exactly the same. Internally, we are computing things completely different. And one way to see this is that we now provide a new syntax that it's kind of inspired on grammar of graphic, but it's not exactly grammar of graphics. And we rely heavily for all this plotting stuff on the X-array structure. So internally, we have a thing that's called plot collection that is essentially an X-array aware plotting library. So here, for instance, we are telling that we want to change this kind of this KDE, and we say, okay, we have this color, C5 as a line style is C2. That notation, color C5, is familiar for people working with matplotlib, but this is a plot, so we are generalizing this notation. And we are also generalizing because we can pass C2 to line styles and other elements. There are other arguments here that are uh, specific. So if you use plotly to generate this plot, you have to pass some argument that is specific of plotly that may change with matplotlib or bokeh, that are the other two plugins that we provide. You can keep adding stuff. Then we have these visuals, okay? But we also have this special name for variables. So what we are saying here is that the columns are dividing by variables. And this party ID, blah, is a three-dimensional variable, actually. We're building the marginals. And then we can specify the mapping. So we want to map the color to this variable, but also the height of these points there. These mappings is to provide a custom mapping, add legends, and all that kind of thing. The thing is that this new syntax, we hope people like it. It's probably going to be new in some aspects to many people, but it provides a lot of flexibility that even allows sometimes to create plots that are completely nonsensical, something that was not allowed in previous version. And also all the tooling that we are providing with these batteries include plots, or some of these internals are also available for users, so they can create their own plots. And also it's much easier for us to create new plots because essentially we have this reuse of code internal. If some here are using arviz for Bayesian modeling and you want to try this new, just update to the new version of arviz and then install this. With this, you're going to get installed everything. So arviz-base, stat, and plot. You have to pick at least one backend. And then you can have those side by side. If you do have to import arviz as ADC, you have the old arviz, and you have this preview model that allows to have side by side. So if you don't know how to do something in new Arviz, you can still use the old one. Thank you very much. Okay. Time for some really quick questions. You get a sticker. Thank you. Show me. No. Only one. Do you ship out two versions, new and old, still? Now, because we are not yet at 1.0, that is the goal. The idea is that probably in less than 1 month, switch to completely to the new version. And another reason to have the new version is that there are a lot of tools or diagnostic or methods that are available in the new version and not in the old one. So at this point, it doesn't make too much sense to use the old one. But there is a lot of documentation to update because Arviz is used by other libraries and teach LLMs how to use the new Arviz. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.